As educators, we too often limit our lesson plans to the curriculum and the academic skills that students may be required to know. This tunnel vision can limit what we can accomplish in our classrooms. As a result, students are not getting life's full picture. It has been said that school gets you ready for the examination, but that life gives the finals. If this is true, then who will teach what life will test? What report card will life use to grade its students? And who will be grading it? Employers, the community as a whole, and each person that a student encounters will be grading them on a daily basis. Each will grade the integrity of our children and the adults they become. And the report card won't read math, science, English. It will read honesty, responsibility, respect, fairness, caring, and citizenship, otherwise known as character.
Character is being responsible for yourself, making choices.
Character traits are definitely universal. In our student harmony group, we strongly push the different traits of integrity and respect.
Probably all aspects of good character comes from respect. I think if you have respect for yourselves and respect for others, you're going to be responsible. You're going to keep your promise and be trustworthy.
Every single thing in the newspaper is a reflection of the presence or absence of a character trait.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Intelligence plus character, that is the true goal of education. It is not enough to teach our children reading, writing, history, or mathematics, for if we are not developing their character, are we really educating them?"
To educate children and not have them acquire the necessary skills to work well together out in life has not done an adequate job of helping them to be ready for the workforce, to be in college, to be responsible citizens.
We're turning out young people who are technically competent. They can do the computer programs, or they can run the lathe, or they can do the other things, but they're morally bankrupt.
Our main purpose is to educate, but if we don't educate for character as well, we can produce some brilliant criminals.
Quoting Theodore Roosevelt, "To educate a person in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society." Today's headlines report increased violence among today's youth, and increased violence in all schools, rural, urban, and affluent suburban schools. What can we do to prevent this?
Every day I open the newspaper or magazine and I read about problems in the school. They have discipline problems, they have violence problems, they have every kind of problem you can imagine. And these kids rely on us to teach them more than just the ABCs. They rely on us to help them know how to act out in that society.
Surveys have shown that over 2/3 of high school students have cheated on an exam, and almost half think that it's okay to lie to get a job. How can we change these attitudes and behaviors?
And we have students who have trouble, and we have students who need to work on these skills. And I would be a liar if I said that they came back with shining examples of America's youth. No, there are problems, and we diagnose, we look at that and we say, where do we need to concentrate? What are we missing here?
Employers are asking for dependable, responsible, and trustworthy employees. Where will they come from?
Our Business Advisory Council for the school system had asked for something to be done with character because they said their employees were not losing their jobs because they couldn't do the work. They couldn't get along with other employees.
We take the pulse of the businesses by talking to the employers, by having advisory committees, and the advisory committees say that this is needed, that we really need to talk to these students about the skills that we assumed at one time were learned in the home.
Developing good character in today's youth calls for a cooperative effort of teachers, parents, and the entire community.
When mom says it, it's one thing, but when your teachers and your friends do it, it means so much more.
Society puts a lot of pressure on parents today. Both parents work, both parents have jobs. A lot of these little guys will go home tonight. They'll go somewhere before mom and dad get home. They may go to daycare or whatever. And we have to make sure that we're teaching those values to our kids.
My mom, for example, is my teacher of good character. She displays, she's my role model in life.
There's many different people that actually can serve as mentors or models for character. And they are a lot of times the same people that you already have.
That, hey, parents are going to make mistakes. But if you know where you want to end up, I think that's the most important thing in developing character.
Within the last decade, a number of schools and communities in Ohio and around the nation have implemented a strategy to address these problems. This strategy is called character education.
Well, character education is a way that we as educators can help these youngsters learn how to make choices.
I think a real good character education program defines the character traits that you want to emphasize. It asks students to demonstrate those characteristics and see the rewards of them.
Students, parents, teachers, and employers are recognizing the need for character education in our school systems.
I think that character ed will maybe pull students away from violence and crime. I mean, if you learn self-respect and discipline, you don't get down on yourself as much, and maybe that'll just help with the violence in schools. Maybe that'll stop that a little bit.
Like they send home each week what the trait is, and we put it up on the refrigerator, and they have SOS, how to solve problems, so they kind of sit side by side on the refrigerators.
I personally got involved in character education because I didn't like what was happening in our elementary schools and our high schools throughout America. I feel like that violence has overtaken the good, the bad has overtaken the good, and I think by introducing and keeping character education in our curriculum in our schools, we can outweigh the bad and keep the violent situations out of our high school and our elementaries.
One way to implement character education is to have students reflect on individual character traits that are important to them.
The most important character trait that I am working on right now is teamwork. Right now, there's a lot of kids in school that, do teamwork all the time and they don't even realize it.
Honesty was important because it lets people know that you have a sense of trustworthiness and loyalty, and that honesty was a building block for relationships because it can strengthen them or destroy them.
Through all my studies, I have to keep being persistent in everything I do. Even though I don't get the best of grades, I need to keep trying and pulling myself to do it.
And my speech today is going to be about being trustworthy. Being trustworthy means that people can count on you to do the things that you say you'll do. When you're trustworthy, your parents, teachers, and youth leaders will respect you.
Character education is not a separate program. It can be integrated into the existing curriculum and flexibly implemented.
It's easy to implement because it's based on your creativity and it's really conducive to your situations.
It's not hard to implement at all. Our classroom, it's what we live by all day. It's how we treat one another. We do lots of group projects, and we must learn to get along with one another because that's how we survive in society.
There are opportunities in every subject matter to bring the illustration of character traits into the discussion.
So when we come in and do our tutoring, at the beginning of the day, we go over respect rules. Instead of just focusing on rules, they're just rules of respect and how we can practice those. And then as kids do their homework, they're practicing responsibility.